Dear all, today let's learn how to write a story. First of all, let's learn what is a story. A story is a series of events, incidents, and experience. It also involves characters and action. Elements are the important components of a story. You must include them for writing a good story. There are five elements of a story: setting, characters, plot, surprise or interest, and theme. Setting is all about description of time and place. It is the answer of what, where, and when. For example, once upon a time there was a kind and just king in the kingdom of Vijayanagar. Such kinds of introductory lines may begin the story. Characters are very important components of a story. There may be two, three, or more important characters around whom the story revolves. These characters must be given speaking parts. Their dialogues must be included. Plot is the trunk of the story tree, which tells about important incidents, and action takes place as the plot develops. Surprise or element of interest keeps the readers glued to the story. There should be nail biting moments in the story. We must include twists and turns to make it really interesting. The theme of the story should be conveyed properly through the description of characters, including dialogues and action. The theme may be truth always wins, love conquers all, kindness, education, greed, honesty, etc. There are certain stages of the development of a story: exposition, action, conflict, climax, anticlimax, and resolution. Your story should develop through all these stages. Your story must begin with exposition. Exposition is all about revealing time, place, character, scene, etc. The very first paragraph should clearly tell what the story is all about. But there is nothing hard and fast about composing a story. You may keep certain things secret to arouse interest in the readers. After revealing scene and characters, you must include action, which comprises events and interesting incidents. Some or other things should happen at each step. Without action, we can't imagine a story. At the next stage, conflict should be introduced. Conflict means hindrance or problem. As the story develops, some problem or surprising incident should take place. The conflict can be natural, social, or psychological. For example, you are going for an interview and there is bus strike, or it started raining heavily. The character was going to present his business idea, but he forgot his PPT at home. Such conflicts should take place as the action rises up. As the story develops further and action heightens, it reaches the climax, where nail biting situation arrives. All must think, now what? This is the peak of action, after which anything could happen. But the readers shouldn't have the clue what is going to happen next. At the next stage, after climax, the action falls down and something happens which is contrary to the main action. It brings surprise and the story becomes even more interesting. After anticlimax, the problem, which becomes most intricating at climax, is solved and resolution takes place, which brings happy ending to the story. All these stages can be understood through a diagram. In the beginning, characters and scene are revealed, which is known as exposition. Then the action takes place. As the action rises and grows intense, some conflict or problem arises. At the next stage, conflict takes the story to the climax, where action reaches at the peak. After that, the action falls down, which is called anticlimax, which brings resolution or solution to the problematic situation, and story ends in happiness. We must take care of certain points regarding style and language of the story. First of all, an interesting title should be written at the top and in the center, and it should be underlined. If a beginning is given in the question, we must start our story with that beginning. The story may be narrated in first or third person of pronoun. For example, I or he. The character and scene should be described properly, and dialogues also should be given to the characters. Now let's learn how to compose a story. In this question, a beginning is given to your story. You must continue after this beginning. In the very beginning, the title is given to the story. A stranger. Once there was a boy in a village. His name was Abdul, who lived with his mother. One day he headed for the city to sell the bundle of his logs as it was his livelihood. This was the beginning given in the question. Abdul sold all his logs by the evening and was very happy to earn a handsome amount of money. In the first paragraph, a description is given to the character, time, and place, which is known as exposition. While returning, it started raining heavily. Here, the action has started. Now he was worried to think that his notes may get wet. Then he saw a small house at a distance. He thought of getting into that house, but was scared. Then he realized somebody tapped on his shoulder. Here we can see that the action has grown intense. "You'll get wet here," said the man in his 40s. "Come with me, I live nearby." And the dialogues are also given to the characters. They reached the house, and as he was about to sit on a cot, he saw the knife in the man's hand. Here we can see the conflict. Abdul is going with a man for help, and that man turned out to be a thief. Before he could speak anything, the man stared at him with wild eyes and roared, "Give me the money. I'm very poor and my mother would be waiting for me. Please leave me." Abdul uttered in a feeble voice. The man clutched his shirt and took his money forcibly. Abdul fell at his feet and said, "I can't go to my mother empty handed. Please give my money back." Therefore, he decided to kill Abdul. With this, we can see that the story has reached its climax, where anything can happen. The readers must think whether Abdul is going to be killed or not. As he was going to stab him, the stranger appeared from nowhere like a Messiah and held his hand. With this line, we can see that the climax has turned into anticlimax, where the action is falling down. After struggling for some time, the stranger got control over him and snatched his knife. He forced the man to give money back to Abdul. And after anticlimax, we can see the resolution. The problem is solved. Abdul got his money back. While he was thinking what happened and how it happened, he reached his home with his mother waiting for him with tears in her eyes. And with this, the story has ended in happiness. This was the example of a story with a happy ending. But as I told you earlier, there is nothing hard and fast about composing a story. You may end your story in happiness or in sorrow. I hope you have understood how to compose a story. Thank you and keep watching.